At Your Instep is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your Instep. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And no one else.
Hello.
Dave is off. He went back to BAWSTON.
What was the message you sent us in show chat today?
Oh, let me pull it here because he sent it in Bostonian.
Yeah, he said it. He definitely said it in a different language. It was not English.
It was a different language. And let's see. He says, I'm taking the blue line to Wonderland to Government Center, kid. KEHD. So
we've lost him.
Yeah.
We don't know what sort of Dave will get on his return.
He's been enveloped by Massachusetts completely. So we pray for his safety and his return. And if not, that his family is well compensated by the state of Massachusetts in some facet. So
I mean,
come home safe, Dave.
They haven't burned a witch in a couple hundred years, so
well, I guess
he's a very powerful sorcerer.
He is some might call him a wizard of some persuasion. So, but even though Dave is gone, we still must carry on and continue to bring you a fun-filled episode about Your Instep. We do have a fair amount of things to cover, so we'll make sure that we talk about everything that was fun and exciting that happened over the weekend, and what's happened in the beginning of the week so far. So let's dive right in. First and foremost, Modern Masters 2017 came out. We drafted, and we have some opinions, and they're all pretty good, I think.
Here's a hot take. It's a blast.
Yeah. Do you like cube drafts? If your answer is yes, you will probably like this format. The only concern that I have is there definitely seems to be like a standout archetype, and I don't know if you feel the same way.
Oh, you mean the best archetype ever in Magic?
Yeah, the blue-white like flicker archetype is very good. Is very good in this format.
So good.
It's really weird because there are a fair amount of I would say there's probably a fair amount of tokens in this set, and man, if you're the tokens deck and you get paired against a blue-white opponent, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a bad time, man.
Can I tell you how good it feels to cast Vanish into Memory on a Golem token? See, because Vanish into Memory says when it leaves play, you draw cards equal to its toughness, but when it comes back into play, you discard equal to its power. Tokens don't come back into play.
They never come back. Not from exile, not from most anything, really.
It actually reads as destroy target creature, draw 3 cards.
Yeah, so it's like...
Or if it's a Master Splicer, 4.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's also fine on your Splicer where you draw a card and discard a card like your Merfolk Looter, and get another creature. So
yeah. That archetype definitely seems to be one of the strongest out of all the drafts that we had. That seemed to be one of the archetypes that remained pretty consistently good, no matter what. But there you could do some interesting things. It's really easy to go into extra colors as far as that is concerned. 3, 4, 5 colors if you're base green probably is probably where you'd have to be for that. But I mean, with all the things that you have signets, you have the Gil Gates, you have the Tri-Lands. It's very easy to get in sort of a shard or a wedge and kind of roll with it. I think the shards are probably slightly easier, but
just based on the fact that you have a
Tri-Land.
Yeah.
And that might not even be completely consistent for every draft. They are uncommon, so you may not even see them. But sometimes you get into your shards even a little bit weird. I know the last draft that we did, I was Boros, and then I just picked up a couple of Rule Signets and some a Guild Gate and just got a few other things for a couple of green cards like the War Chant, and I think I had the 4/4 Trample, the
Rampager.
Yeah, Gore Clan Rampager. So just had a couple of green cards and had plenty of green to cover it, and but just got a lot of Boros charms like that not charms, but Boros cards that like wield and stuff like that, just because it's like it's an off the beaten path sort of color combination. And you'll have that. You have like, I know that for the first 2 drafts that I did like green, white, X tokens, which I thought was pretty good. But again, both rounds that I had against those decks were definitely against the blue-white flicker deck, and it's just like, okay, this is just unbeatable for what I've drafted. So I think that is unfortunate, but it's also not a consistent experience that you'll have every time. So, but overall, I really liked it. I want to do it some more and like maybe try to do some other archetypes. I know that Jordan really liked blue-black. He said that he went like 3-0-6-1 with a blue-black draft that he did or something like that. I saw that on Twitter. So there's definitely a lot of like variations that you can actually draft, and I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I've done 4 drafts now so far, and I drafted the Flicker deck twice. I'll be honest, myself and Brian Keller, who's been on the show a couple times before, we both sort of identified that as like what we want to be in. Which the first draft I did it, we were at the same table at opposite ends, and we definitely both forced it, and we both we split the finals of that draft. So we were fighting over the archetype, and both still made it to the finals.
Yeah,
so,
not to mention in that draft you were across the way from me.
Next to you, and you were green-white.
Yeah, I was green-white, so I was still nabbing cards
so
from you.
It was strong.
Yeah, it's definitely powerful. I just think like there was just a lot of like support for that archetype in that particular draft.
I think it's just there's so many good creatures in the format, especially good creatures ETB effects that and they're easily splashable. You could just like hit them off a Signet and a couple, again, lands or a Shimmering Grotto, and then once it's in play, then you don't have to worry about it. The flickering does all the rest. So
right.
And Mist Raven's still a first pickable card in this format.
It's bonkers.
It was great in Avacyn Restored, which I know was not a beloved limited format, but Mist Raven was great, and it's even better in this format. So.
Yep.
But I also did like Red-Black Sacrifice, and that deck felt really good. The one thing I've really liked about this format compared to the other Modern Masters formats, the rares feel cohesive. Like there's a number of rares that were mythics that got downshifted, like Falconwrath Aristocrat or like Obsidian, that I think like you would be wary of. You'd be like, oh man, but like they felt like right. They felt like they are really synergistic with the archetypes they've built, and it was sweet. So I also did draft 5-color control that was base blue-black and still cast Rocks Warmonk. So that was pretty sweet. But yeah, I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with the format. I want to keep doing it. The nice thing is we're not really seeing, again, a shortage of product, but this feels different than Eternal Masters. Like Eternal Masters, we wanted to draft a couple times. It was fun, and then it kind of died down. We fired 9 Modern Masters drafts at Comic Town on Friday.
Yeah.
Regular, like they do an F&M draft of like current standard sets. Did not fire.
No, because people wanted to do draft.
I have not seen that with any of the Masters formats.
No. I would say like, yeah, this is the first time, but I think that they really did a good job of making the limited format appealing.
But also the boxes available. Like other times stores were hoarding the boxes, for their own events or for whatever else, and like sort of rationing them out. Yeah. But here it was like, no, we've got the boxes, let's do it. Plus they ran their sealed event on Saturday, which was a huge success. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's pretty awesome to see like product being plentiful for a Masters release, which is not something that we typically get. But with things like fetch lands being in these, Wizards did the right thing and made sure that they printed enough product. So I'm very excited, and I know that we'll have more opportunities to draft this set going forward. So I wait in anticipation for us to be able to do that.
And Humble Rags opened to Goyf and Foil Liliana.
Yeah, some people opened really well. I got Damnation, so
there you go.
The night wasn't wasted. So I ended about pretty even on the night. I'll take that.
I was up.
Yeah, you very much so. And you traded for another Goyf that night as well. I did. So you're halfway to a playset.
Well, I think I'm gonna turn this foil one. I'm working on turning it into 2 more.
Yeah,
Goyfs,
the foil lily into 2 more Goyfs.
Oh, sorry, foil lily. Yeah. So I definitely thought I would like. I think this is gonna be kind of common from this set, but I definitely I'm like, oh well, Goyfs are just something I'm never gonna own. And then by this week, I might actually own Goyfs, and it's only because the set exists. So
correct.
It's pretty sweet.
And you just got real lucky, right place and right time.
Well, that's true, but at the same time, like the Goyfs I'm trying to obtain, and even the one I traded for, like, if these sets didn't exist, I'm not trading for a Goyf easily.
Yeah, they'd still be unattainable.
Yeah, so
I suppose that's true. Now, obviously, tomorrow on Wednesday, the 22nd, is when Modern Masters 2017 hits Magic Online, and there's a lot of Pauper is a really popular format on Magic Online. It's usually people's introduction.
Popular?
It's very very popular, and it is a lot of people's introduction into like starting to grind constructed for work your way up the ladder, as it were, to get better decks and break into other formats online. And Modern Masters 2017 has a lot of downshifted cards to common. But you won't, unfortunately, be able to use all those new downshifted cards quite yet. As it turns out, you won't be able to use them for over 20 days. Not till...
It's about a month.
Yeah, April 19th. Yeah, pretty much just a couple days shy of a month is when you'll actually be able to use these new downshifted cards in Pauper Constructed. Because of some Magic Online funkiness, apparently.
And as you pointed out in our messaging earlier, it was like, these cards exist already. Like, these aren't new. These interactions aren't new. Like, I've got nothing for this one. This makes no sense.
It has to be some sort of interaction that exists within the format and how these cards are going to be used that they can't fix and don't know how to fix until the 19th. Like, I don't know. Like, this is so arbitrary.
It's less than 20 cards, and they need an entire month to fix it.
I don't understand. It says due to an issue with the commons. Like, that's all they say. Due to an issue with the commons. What issue? Like, alright, just be vague and don't give us any sort of detail, and maybe the detail is so technical that it is almost irrelevant, and it doesn't matter. If you knew, it wouldn't change how you really felt about it. And maybe that's the case, but it's just cool. Thank you for complete vagueness on why it's going to take you almost a month to fix how these cards work in a format. They work on Magic Online already as commons. You're going to be able to draft them and use them. It's not like there's going to be missing commons from your Modern Masters 2017 packs.
Oh man!
But apparently they just won't work in how they are legal, legal in a format, or how they work within the context of the format. So, but who knows? Maybe it's something they just need to work out some tweaks on. There's a lot of weird things that happen in Pauper. Their ban list is obviously different than even some things that you see in Legacy or Vintage or Modern or Standard, obviously. So there are interactions that are unique to the format, which could just be what's causing this, and they want to make sure that they work properly. And who knows? Maybe they're putting this off because they're going to ban something.
Maybe. I guess that makes sense, but they did say that there was an issue with the card.
Maybe the issue is the card's too good. The card is actually just too good to be in this.
I was hoping to get to try out slime molding in Pauper. I assumed that card was gonna.
Yeah, it's too bad. I thought that was gonna be that moment, that card's moment to shine. Apparently, nah. But yeah, I just thought of that. Maybe they're actually going to preemptively ban a card they are making legal. That is a weird thing to do, but maybe they just don't want to have this really terrible format for almost a month.
They were fine with it in Standard.
Zing! Gotcha, Wizards.
Boom!
Well, and who knows? Maybe they'll be able to speed it up, but with a hard date like this, it's just weird. It's just weird. We'll keep an eye on it, but it wouldn't be shocking if they're like, oh, these cards are illegal. Also, this is now banned. Anyway, and next up, we have our another weekly public service announcement from your friends at Your End Step. Please add your DCI number to your Wizards account, folks. Every year, countless DCI numbers are left stranded without a home.
That's not even true. Wizards actually released another article about this today. They're imploring people to keep this up to date. If you don't know, there is a pretty massive update coming for Wizards Event Reporter, and some of your stores are maybe losing the ability to just look up your number arbitrarily. It'll be tied to your account, like not just your name. So some stores are going to have an issue rebuilding their local database for that, and it'll be a lot easier if they can look it up based on account. Then it sort of breaks down why they need these things, especially for like what level and why they're transitioning. So if you want to take a look at that article, maybe do that. I know it's tedious. It should still be fine if you just know your number, but if you're that person who never remembers their number and just shows up to stores, you're going to probably have an issue. So it's time to, I don't know, put your adult pants on and, remember your DCI number. It's a pretty important number to you. It's much like your social security number or your bank number, or any number that will allow someone to become an identity thief. DCI number is one of the most common ways. That's not even close to true.
Yeah, it's,
wait, I didn't play in that tournament last Sunday. I've done been thiefed.
Someone done stole my Magic identity. But they do better than me, so maybe I should let it slide.
I'm gonna let it go for a few weeks. I gotta get these buys for GP Vegas.
No, don't do that. It's a bad idea. It's a good way to get. I don't know if you get banned for it.
Yeah, I've definitely done that in the past, where people put my name in wrong and come up with a Mike Kenny who is not. Who was not me, and they didn't find it out until after the tournament. I was like, well, I hope they don't play in a tournament at the same time.
Yeah, that might be a little awkward.
It wasn't me who got in trouble for that, so it's there, but it's awkward. So, but yeah, not a big deal. Just take the few minutes, go and update your account, be done with it.
All right. Next up, have you had a significant other or a relative that you've wanted to teach Magic to? Well, guess what? Redo can now do it for you. This is a article that is now on Channel Fireball, and it's Redo kind of walking through the basics of playing Magic, and just browsing through it. Man, it's pretty detailed. It looks really nice and sort of laid out. You got a nice glossary of terms here. Yeah, this is great. This is a pretty solid introduction. Plus, Redo, you can just put a picture of it like off to the side of whoever you're showing. Like, hey, this. Lovely young gentleman is teaching you how to play Magic. I
want the audiobook of this, so it's very soothing.
Yes, please.
The biggest draw to this is it's an article with full detail that isn't the mothership. So you don't have to embarrass yourself by showing your friend this website.
This is where all the official news from Magic comes from, and they're like, oh, this website is travesty, and you're like, well. So yeah,
I've been on the site for 10 minutes. It's told me about cookies 3 times, and it's asked me to take 6 surveys. That's weird.
That's weird. I don't even know this game. I'm done.
But I brought this one up because it got shared a number of times this last week, and it looks like going forward, this may be one of those touchstone sort of articles.
Mm-hmm.
He did a whole series of the Mothership, if you remember, about like different elements of the game. And obviously was very good with that. And this just seems like this is something. Hey, I kind of want to know. Like we had a discussion with Jordan on a car ride recently, former host, and he was talking about like trying to get his now fiance. Congratulations, buddy.
Yep.
How to understand the game. And this seems like me. Like it was like, oh, are you willing to read an article for 5 minutes? You know what I mean? Like this could be a really easy way. Like he doesn't go into the sort of esoteric portions. It's like, hey, what's the point of the game? What are you trying to do? How do you accomplish that goal? These ways. How do the cards work? Like this. And I don't know, it's pretty nice and straightforward. This is something that I think will be useful, hopefully, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. And hey, this is something you're going to want to bookmark and literally potentially have it for a rainy day when you can't go outside and play.
What are we going to do today? We're going to play Magic. So, but yeah, that's the Channel Fireball. Reduke's content, always quality and
very much so.
Yeah,
always dreamy.
Oh man. Just I guess I like the idea of pulling his picture up and just like thinking of him while you're reading it.
Right. Yeah. Just like, you gotta have like a full and like it, just have him record the whole article. You could have like a whole audio visual stimuli.
Go into a sensory deprivation tank with only the picture of Reduke in your head and him speaking this article to you, and just be taken away.
Yeah.
Just totally soothing.
Yeah, it'd be great. You'll have an existential experience, and then you'll be like, I am Magic, actually, now. I've become... I
am Magic, and so can you.
Our last community topic that we'll move on to here is that the deck lists for the Mind versus Might are up, and they're sort of mediocre. Now, of course, this is in line with what Wizards is trying to do with their sealed product. They're not trying to make, a a bunch of constructed staples, shoved into a product so that it is hard to find. They want the people that want this sort of thing to be able to find it. And trust me, you will, because there is not that much to really write home about. I mean, you have some like rift bolts. You have like 3 rift bolts, which is that's pretty good. You have a coat of arms in one of the decks. You have a bunch of legendaries. But you don't have much else past that. In all honesty, and you do have more rares, but that comes at a cost. These dual decks are now going to start being $24.99 due to the increase in the amount of rares that are going to be showing up in them. But I mean, it's sort of a quality over quantity sort of thing. Like, I mean, I don't care how many pennies you shove in my wallet. It's still not going to make me a rich man. So no. But yeah, this seems. I mean, even if this is like the kind of product that you even if it's something that you wanted, it really feels like you'd be disappointed with this. And like they're both 2-color decks, but the mana in them is not great. I mean, one of the, you would have like this somewhat aggressive deck being the Might deck, and it's got like tap lands. It's just like, man, they could have done more with this. I really feel, and they just didn't. They just shoved a bunch of like mediocre rares and said, "Look at this cool dual deck."
Yeah, I just have a hard time finding the purpose behind these. Like at this point, like I'm definitely not the target audience. So neither of us are. So like, maybe we're missing out on that. But like, I don't see these flying off shelves. I see these like they sit in Targets until they literally go on clearance. They sit in Walmart so they go on clearance. You know what I mean?
They sit in like those big box stores until those stores like take them back for not selling, and then they break them apart and put them in like plastic clear containers that like 2 decks and then 2 booster packs for $30, and then they just rake in the money, I guess.
I wish the Planeswalker decks, at least they're foil. The walkers are foil. Like here, like, oh, here's this new like Jorya art, right? Like, cool. Commanders might like that. Like that's a sort of a niche sort of like commander. Right? Well, it's not foil though. Like, just make it foil. No, I don't think it is. Am I crazy? I don't think it is.
I think they are, because even like the last one, the Mind Rack Demon and Geist of Trap deck,
wrong.
Those were foil.
Okay,
so
I take that back.
They're typically all foil.
I take that criticism back. The ones I saw, I thought they weren't foil, but never mind. I take that back. Okay, well then I'll flip it. That's the only upside I can see.
Okay,
that's if that's how it's set up. Then at least you if you really wanted that new art of foil Jorya, then maybe that's why you buy it.
Yeah.
Sorry for sounding like an idiot.
No, you're good. I'm here to save you. I got your back.
I appreciate that.
I got your back. But that's pretty much everything for the community. Before we break into competitive and talk about some standard, you can take a nap or take a nap during the next segment because it's standard. No, just kidding. We have like a little bit, a tiny bit.
I'm going to throw a tease out there. If you think we're missing something important in our community subject, like a possible spoiler, stay tuned.
That's later.
Stay tuned. Coming at you.
Anyway, before we jump into a competitive segment, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Comic Town and BCW. First, Comic Town has a couple of chances for you to get your hands on some Modern Masters packs. Of course, they are offering them in store as you can buy loosey gooseys.
Yeah, you can just buy them. Yeah.
Try to get lucky. But they're actually going to be giving them out as prize packs for their Monday night Modern events, and this is including the March 27th GPT for Las Vegas. So come by, play some Modern. I think it's just $10 for entry, and then try to win some Modern Masters 2017 packs. And then while you're at Comic Town, definitely take a look at some of their products they have for BCW. They have a huge stock of BCW supplies. So if you need sleeves, a deck box, binder, whatever, they definitely have them. Or check out bcwsupplies.com.
Check out the deck towers. They're nice. They're choice.
They're very, very nice. All right, competitive. We had 2 GPs. It's like literally the tale of 2 cities, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Tale of Two Cities was in Europe and not focused in Japan and South America.
True.
But,
I understand.
But Charles Dickens didn't get that far. So maybe if he had, these are the cities he would have chosen.
Exactly. Anyway, so we're going to talk about GP...
Shizuoka?
Yeah. Shizuoku?
Shizuoku, yes.
It had a staggering 2,719 players.
Yeah, they're thirsty for some Magic.
That is a lot of Magic players.
If you've looked around here and said things like, I don't know why Frontier isn't working here, but it worked in Japan, that number tells you why. They want events.
They just need to play Magic some way, somehow.
Mars needs moms. Japan needs Magic events.
all the time, forever. You had so many players that you even had some glaring issues with the current GP prize payouts. But
2 12 and 3s did not get paid. I want you to think about that. 12 and 3 didn't get paid.
There was a X and 2 that.
No, it was an X and 1 that lost round 15 and did not top 8.
Oh, gosh!
Like they qualified for the Pro Tour, didn't top 8 though.
That's rough.
But I mean, like 12 and 3 not cashing a GP is disgusting. You can't do much better. The next win gets you onto the Pro Tour, and they didn't design these so 64 people go to the Pro Tour. So
yeah,
jeez,
it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. But I mean, what are you gonna do? The tournament was won by Mardu Ballista, piloted by Ryohei Kirino?
Sure. Sorry, buddy.
He defeated Mardu Ballista.
Oh, really? Really?
Piloted by Wen Tao Ki.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, and when we really kind of take a look at it, it is a lot of the same. A lot of Mardu Ballista. It's definitely like 5, or is it 5 or 6? I think it's 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 copies of Ballista in the top 8.
And then we have this is where we break into the diversity that's here in Standard, guys. We're going to hear this over and over again about all this diversity that happened over the weekend. We have a third place Team Tower list, piloted by Masayasu Tanahashi, and then in 8th place. Oh, man, this is. I can't believe that people are complaining about lack of diversity in the standard when you can see here in 8th place playing Jun Smasher. We have Motoaki Itao, and just everywhere. It's just everywhere, man. Yeah. Just so many different archetypes that you can play in standard.
So we've seen this in the past, though. Like Japanese players really do love their Eldrazi. Because we've seen some sort of interesting like Jun Smasher is a Jund, like it's a black green like Delirium deck. It has unlicensed disintegration, but it also is playing Reality Smashers, like Catacomb Sifters. So it's sort of interesting. But there's also a mono white list in 17th place, Ishikawa Sho, which is mono white Eldrazi vehicles. So it's playing like Heart of Kirin's and Gideon's, but has Spatial Contortion, has Thought Not Seers, and Matter Shapers. Yeah. So they like their Eldrazi's.
They most certainly do. And to be fair, hey, that's a pretty powerful creature type that's currently available to you in standard. Shout out to 20th place Yuki Ichikawa.
Yes.
Teamer Tower.
We also had with Miyamoto, right, in 7th place. Is that a different Miyamoto that I'm thinking of? I thought that Miyamoto was a
Akihiro Miyamoto.
Yeah, I thought he was a named player, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Maybe from like the World Magic Cup.
Yeah, perhaps.
It does sound familiar though.
I will say this overall top 32 is a little bit more diverse than we've seen in the past, which I guess that's nice. We have some interesting things, like I said, like the Eldrazi decks. There is a Mardu deck that isn't Ballista, just aptly titled WBR, and it's playing Yahenni, Undying Partisan.
Oh, snap.
This is in 9th place. It has Aili Eternal Pilgrim as well. This is Kobayashi Maru. Tommy Matoya. Sorry, that's messed up. But so there's some things here that's also playing Ceram's Expertise, which is kind of nifty. Ceram's expertise into something like the Henny's kind of sweet, but yeah. So there's a little bit of difference here, but overall, like if you look again, the top 8 being, I mean, again, if 12 and 3s didn't even cash, and you're looking at how many 13 and 2s and or above there could be, Marty Ballista is once again just sort of dominating the format to a disgusting degree.
Yeah, and it's just not surprising. Anything else that we want to glean from this lovely Japanese tournament?
I don't think so. There's a copy of Jeskai Control in the top 32, literally in 32nd place. That wasn't Saheeli combo.
Oh, snap.
So, it's playing Confirmed Suspicions. So, I'm
sounds
down.
great. That sounds great.
Because you Gear Hulk that, and it feels really good.
Oh, man.
It's a Dynavolt Tower deck. Never mind. So, again, I think there's some interesting decks there. But, like, here's the thing. At this point in the format, like, even those 2 decks, like the white, black, red, and the mono white with the Eldrazi, they're actively both vehicles decks. The mono white one is a little bit different because of its removal package, but it has Stasis Snare instead, and it goes into like Westvale Abbey, which is a card people haven't seen in a while, which is probably fairly well positioned if you get it flipped, against like other vehicles decks. Like that feels like it's hard for those decks to beat. But beyond that, like again, I don't know. These Marty Ballista decks are they're obnoxious.
Yeah, they're just super prevalent. So let's move on here to Grand Prix of Porto Alegre. And it was won by what? I can't say it like that?
I just, like, you went to Porto Alegre. Na, 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 na. Like, I don't know. Just like you went like very like operatic on it.
I see. Well, it was won by Victor Fernando Silva playing Teamer Tower again. Man, this deck's just everywhere. It just blew up this weekend.
Standard is a reelin', let me tell you.
I hope you can definitely feel the sarcasm that I have here. It defeated the boogeyman of the format, Marty Ballista, piloted by Wagner William Casati. Casati.
Yeah, this one, so the top 8 felt a little bit more diverse. You had 5 different archetypes. I'm actually going to read you the quote that Wizards put on the website. And I just want to see how you take this, because we're both looking at the deck list right now for the top 32. Okay? Just when we thought the format had been solved, the diversity showcased at Porto Alegre will likely surprise the world, making top 8 or 5. Oh, wow, I copy and paste that directly. Making top 8 were 5 different archetypes. I gotta go check. I copy and pasted that directly.
Were
5 different archetypes and variants, including the tournament-winning Teamer Tower. Yeah, there were 5 archetypes in the top 8, as long as you assume the 2 black-green decks are just totally different archetypes. Then there's still literally 25, was it 24, 25 copies of 4-color Saheeli and Marty Ballista in the top 32. Like, it is obnoxious, the spin here. Like, look at the diversity. After you go past, Black Red Eldrazi in 12th place, every other deck outside of 25th and 26th place, which are 8th Works Marvel decks, every other deck in that, all throughout that, is literally Marty Ballista or 4-color Copycat. It goes... Or I'm sorry, black-green. So it goes Marty Ballista, Copycat, black-green energy, Ballista, Copycat, Ballista, Marvel, Ballista, Copycat, Copycat. I don't know what else to say here. Like, they literally put, look at all the diversity, and I just said Ballista. Like, I just said Ballista so many times, I could get a fresh track. You know what I mean? Like, oh, got that Ballista. Give me like a cool gun sound effect in the background. And I've got a number 1 hit.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, the newest thing to hit,
Ballista.
The underground rap scene.
Gosh, this is just ridiculous. And again, there's a couple of cool decks here, but the one thing I will say as well, this GP had less than 600 players. Yeah, so even compared to Japan, like spiking this tournament is actively easier than it was in Japan. So with that being said, you would hope more unique decks would show up here. And they really don't. Like, I just don't know how you can, like, look at this top 32 with a straight face and say, diversity! Like, it's garbage. It's spin.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it feels like. It doesn't feel genuine. I mean, having something like Black Red Eldrazi show up, and like that honestly is a new archetype, and it did perform very well. But Pedro Carvalho is a somewhat well-known player, is somewhat capable, and it makes sense that even with a deck that is not something you would typically see, that he would do fairly well with it.
And this is still a vehicles deck. Like, if you look at it, it's still playing Heart of Kieran, Aether Harvester, Fatal Push, Unlicensed Disintegration, Walking Bullets, to Scrappy Scrounger. Like, you're not that far away from what anything else anyways.
Still there.
Like, you go Thought-Not Seer Reality Smasher, so it goes a little bit bigger, and that's nice. Like, I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, you're still playing Ballista.
But your core here is still based around, like, the Ballista Scrounger, like, an Unlicensed Disintegration, like, cycle. So, once again, you're still just focused on cards. I don't know. Maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, we're just being, like we're hating on this too much. And that's possible. But to somehow pretend like this was like a diverse showing for a top 32 is just an outright lie.
Yeah, that feels gross. That doesn't feel genuine in any way, shape, or form. It feels like you're ignoring like the actual percentages of deck representation.
I mean, one copy of Temur Tower in the top 32, but they claim like the exciting new Temur Tower that won the event. Yeah, it won the event and didn't show up anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Where's its representation to show me that this is a deck that can compete? Like, I spiked the tournament with it, but it's nowhere else to be found.
Well, Mike, now that it did spike this tournament, now it shows that you can play this deck and be successful with it. So like everyone's just going to jump on the Temur Tower plan, and if
you hear a loud sound here in a second, it's going to be me taking the mic and forcibly shoving it into my own brain. Okay, I apologize. The sound effects will not be great, but it will be exciting at least.
Yeah, it's a joke, and whatever spin Wizards wants to put on it, or whoever is writing that for Wizards wants to put on it, is fine. They have to polish a turd somehow, I guess.
And standard, there we go.
Yeah. Oh well. I guess you're gonna do what you're gonna do. At least next week we don't have a standard tournament to really talk about. Unfortunately, it is limited, so we probably won't talk about it very much. But that's pretty much it for the competitive tournaments that happened over the weekend. I know that Comic Con, a couple of things go on, but unfortunately, neither Mike or I were able to attend.
I do want to make mention of the sealed event was very successful. I know they neared their cap; they were very close.
Yeah, they're in the high 80s.
Yeah, so that was awesome. I thought for sure it was going to cap. I'm really surprised it didn't.
Yeah.
But I know that tournament went well, and we got to see some cool things. Unfortunately, got to watch the last round on camera. Our buddy Brian Keller get hoofed.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened in a while, so that was interesting.
No, but Dave did very well.
Yeah, he top four.
He did top four, which is unfortunate because he could have talked about that experience. But
Dave, how'd it go? But he did. I think he lost to the eventual winner, which was Lauren Nolan.
Yes, correct.
So, which invitational winner and pretty quality player all around.
So Dave lost the Nolan battle.
Yeah,
the battle of the Nolans.
He is not the superior Nolan.
That's unfortunate.
Wow, that was weird. Anyways, the IQ on Sunday, though, I also know got 62 players.
Yeah, because Modern's great.
And I did want to make at least quick mention of the winner overall. I'm going to get the name real
pull it up. But it is an interesting take on the Death Shadow list. Instead of being Jund or even Grixis, which I know is picking up steam online and in paper, it is Sultai.
Yeah, Christian Bailey.
Yes. Congrats to you, sir. And your interesting take on the Death Shadow aggro deck.
Yeah, he had Sultai Death Shadow.
Yes.
So this is normal things: Death Shadow, Tarmogoyf, Street Wraith, Tasigur, Snapcaster Mages, and then you get to add blues. So you get Mana Leak, Spell Pierce, Spell Snare, and a card I've seen a lot in these blue versions of the deck are definitely
Stubborn Denial?
Thank you. That's the card I'm looking for, which seems great with Death Shadow and it's like Tasigur. Oh, look, Stubborn Denial's turned on. Tarmogoyf, more than likely it's turned on. Oh, Death Shadow. Oh, it's probably turned on. And then you just have like a hard counter for removal, which is 1 mana, so you get to win the tempo battle. But you also get Abrupt Decay, which you already have 4 Fatal Pushes, but you also get 2 Abrupt Decay. So in the mirror match, you get to sort of stack your removal suite against them. Plus, out of the board, he's got cool things like Threads of Disloyalty.
Yep.
Man, talk about a mirror trump. Like, I'll take that.
Yeah, every creature in your deck except for Street Wraith is what, 3 or less is
Yeah, it's 2 or less.
Two or
no,
less.
yeah,
CMC.
It's CMC 2 or less.
2 or less, yeah.
So yeah, I outside of like Tassiger in this version, but
Yeah.
so it seems pretty cool. Now he does have a Glimpse the Unthinkable on the board, and I don't know what that was there for.
No clue. Zero clues as to what that is.
Maybe it's a typo. We can ask the store, I guess. But overall, I thought this was a pretty interesting thing. We see Golgari Charm doing well here, which I mentioned because the other version I think we both looked at of this deck was the Esper version of Death Shadow that was making use of Orzhov Charm. So I'm loving all these cool charms seeing some play.
They're quite charming.
Wow.
Yep.
I do also want to mention in this list, he's also running a one of Nameless inversion, which without red, you lose access to Tarfire, which is your tribal instant.
Your Tarmogoyf grower.
Right, but Nameless inversion is your tribal instant, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Which also, like, is a removal spell. It pumps your Goyf, but then it's also the secret pump spell for your Death Shadow at the end.
Yeah.
So, I really liked this list, and sort of has me excited where you can go with this, like with Death Shadow. And people are really opening it up, and it makes me kind of happy. There's a lot of cool decks.
Realistically, where you can go with Death Shadow, any wedge that has black in it, or shard that has black in it.
Like, all these decks feel really different. Like, this one feels like you could really play a tempo game, whereas like the Esper version of it, like with Orzhov Charm, like you really have some gross plays where you can actually like you're not like team or battle raging them out, but you can just sort of like set up turns where you're like, oh, end of turn, I return this, and you're like, well, what? Like,
yeah, and like you get to play white, and white has a lot of really strong sideboard cards. You could play Grixis and have like a grindy game, like a really good grinding game with Tassigers and like Gurmags, and have like delve spells that are really can be effective against the mirror match as well to shrink people's like Goyfs and stuff like that. And the only thing you haven't really seen is like junk. Like, I wonder if there is a junk Death Shadows list.
Probably.
Yeah, because you still have Goyf and you have Orzhov Charm.
You could literally, like, you look at the Jund version, you can literally just like put like white in there over it and see what you could do. So
yeah.
I'm sure you could do any of it. Like, I don't know how like. I don't know if you can hear the difference in our voices, but the second we get to talk about Modern for a second, it's like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah, and like people would be like, Death Shadow is a problem, but it's like even like if this is just like a diverse archetype, like if you can, there's multiple different ways that you can kind of play this Death Shadow game. At least like all the variations feel different enough that it feels like you are playing against a different kind of deck, rather than like all the like the black-green variations that you have in Standard, where it doesn't really feel like they separate themselves enough, almost.
Yeah, and I think like definitely Death Shadow is popular now, and like it feels like an unexplored archetype, quite honestly, compared to what it was when it was the all-in aggro deck. And if you look at the numbers, you could say, oh yeah, a lot of people like this deck, but we saw what broken numbers look like. That was Eldrazi Winter. That's nowhere near like if you're looking at this top 8 from even this Comic Con IQ. So it was first place Sultai Death Shadow, second place All in Red, which was like
I saw
big
that
red with like Ensnaring Bridge and everything else. Then you had Hardened Scales Affinity.
Yep.
Okay. Which was actually Scott Morris, who works for Comic Con.
For Comic Con, yep.
Interesting. Jeskai Control, which actually I think I got to look at that list. I don't think it was actually Control. You had Burn. You had actual Grixis Control with 3 copies of oh shoot! What's the target player catch off of the library or search the library? Oh, Shadow of Doubt.
Shadow of Doubt, yeah.
And then 2 copies of Ad Nauseam. So like you had a lot of like the Jeskai Control. Yeah, this had Thundermaw, Hellkite, Geist of Saint Trapped, and Spell Quellers. This is Team Geist.
Yeah.
But so they're usually more of a tempo deck. But you had tempo, you had Death Shadow, you had All in Red, you had multiple combo decks. Like that's what a good top 8 looks like.
Yeah, you had a lot of stuff.
And then just some random stuff. Like, man, like All in Red, man, I love that deck. I can't help it.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, that's pretty awesome for that deck to show
Michael Vila.
Yeah, show up and do well. But like, yeah, you might have this archetype that is represented more than the other decks, but it doesn't mean that that's all you see. That it's not like Death Shadow, the most recent Open or Modern GP is just like all Death Shadow all the time. Like you definitely see it, and of course, like when you're talking about a GP or an Open, players are going to lean to what the best deck is, especially now. Like it might have been a harder argument to make when like Jund Death Shadow seemed to be the only thing, because having to get Tarmogoyfs, that might be not something that is feasible for everyone, unlike Mike. But now that the archetype has opened up a bit, and you may not even need that. You have other options on what you can actually play. You may not need Tarmogoyfs. Then you're probably going to see a lot more people pick it up, because they might just have the cards. They might already have like Grixis Control, or they might already have a random smattering of like maybe they wanted to play Esper Mentor and they made a terrible choice in their life, and they just have all these Esper cards. So you break open an archetype and expand it out, and then it does feel like different decks. Sort of like Legacy. You have all these Delver decks in Legacy, and they all are kind of doing the same thing, but but they still have enough variations that make them different and truly feel like different archetypes. Like, and I just think I don't know if you can actually achieve that within Standard. I feel like there have been standards that have done that, but the variations that you have between the standard decks just doesn't feel as wide as what you have in modern.
Sure.
So, but again, that's pretty much everything that happened over the weekend. Now we get to a little bit of a fun section. There was another kind of huge thing that happened over the weekend. As we all know, when Magic cards get printed, sometimes some funky things can happen, like people randomly finding cards from the next set in their Modern Masters 2017 packs, like someone did.
I think it's up to 3 people now who are claiming they have.
Yeah.
So,
which once is a fake, twice is happenstance, 3 times is definitely like this is confirmed. We've definitely seen like multiple like people having copies of this card. It's just like, yeah, at this point in time, this is probably just what it is, and it's a doozy.
Yeah, a doozy is a good word for that.
This is like a pretty big thing, and I do genuinely feel bad when things like this happen to Wizards, especially when it's something as significant as what they're trying to do on this card.
I'm going to take a different approach with that.
That's fine. I feel bad because they don't get to control how this is presented to us and announced.
Sure.
Obviously, like they don't necessarily even control like what happens in the printers. Like this is where these mistakes are made. These mistakes are made at like printers and collation, and they don't get an opportunity to present this to us and make their appeal. Until we get the official like spoiler. So that's why I feel bad, because I feel like when leaks happen like this, a lot of the player base has initial reactions, and Wizards can't say anything. The people that made this card can't say anything, and I think that is sad. I think that is a disappointing thing, especially if you put your heart and soul into making something and then it just shows up.
Okay, I take it back. That's totally fair, and I can see that because you are presented this without context, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
That being said, I can't help but feel like, because like this within the weekend it showed up like 3 or 4 times, specifically in Portuguese, right? So printer error. Sure, possibly, but it has felt like before, like they've played pretty coy when this has happened in the past. Like, oh, maybe you did find something, right? And maybe that's them just playing it off. But it has consistently felt like they just do this sometimes. You know what I mean? Like this Wonka ticket. You know what I mean? And like I think the flip side of that is we get to see it unbridled. We get to argue whether or not it's real, and then they can swoop in and be like, oh no, it's real. Right, so I think there is a flip side to that. But I see what you're saying, and I can be. I'm certainly empathize. Like if you're the person who like this was your idea for, and I guess if you haven't seen this card, we should describe this to you why this is such a big deal.
Yes. So to best describe it, it's like a split card.
Yes, it definitely looks like so think like split cards like we saw in Dragon's Maze or even back to the Invasion block, with a bit of an exception.
Yeah, they're formatted differently. So like one, like the top of it kind of just looks like a traditional Magic card. And that is the Dusk part of the card. And it has a mana cost. It says 2 white, sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power greater or equal to 3. So, like, hey, that it's not Wrath of God, but they're not really doing that anymore. Their wraths are usually start at 5, but this is a 4-mana one, and it covers a lot of bases. Like the 1s and 2 drop, the 1 power creatures, 2 power creatures, like they're not getting swept away. But if you played something like a 3/3 for 3, or a 3/2 or something like that early on, like I can to get this taken care of. But the regularness of this card stops about midway, and then on the bottom half of the card, it looks more like a split card, like a traditional Beck/call. Like,
right, yeah,
it's that half of the card, and it is a different spell. It is Dawn, and it has this keyword. It's from what we can tell, this is obviously translation. It's not, it presented as English text, but it's been translated to Aftermath. And it says, cast the spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. And it says, return all creature cards with power less than or equal to 2 from your battlefield to your hand. From a graveyard to your hand, because that doesn't make any sense the way that I read it. Yeah, from graveyard to hand. And this is 3 white to do that. And then obviously if you cast it from your graveyard, which is the only place you can cast it, you exile it. So
I want to say, compared to even like if you were picturing because if you haven't seen this yet, and we could tweet out a picture of it too, but if you haven't seen it, one of the other things that's weird about it, looking at the old, like even the Dragon's Mace flip cards, the art orientation was still on the bottom of the 2 arts, so it was on the side of the card, if you will.
Yeah.
This one is distinctly like if you like held your hand over the Dawn part of the card, you could see a regular card because you could see the bottom of the. So it's just like really weird.
It's smaller, like it's just.
It's like they stapled a tiny card in the front of it.
All right, exactly.
Oh, this is just a sticker. So it comes right off.
This is our first steps into who, what, when, where, why, how territory, which is definitely something that I threw out there when first seeing this card. If you don't know what that card is, go to Gatherer, do a search for that. It is great, but yeah. I think this card is just about the ugliest thing that I've seen from a unset, like a non-gold bordered set, because gold borders are pretty ugly. But in a traditional constructed Magic set, it's ugly as sin.
Wow.
It's gross. It is something that is really weird. I think it's
ooh, weird things. I don't like it.
I think it's actively confusing for new players.
Oh, sure it is, but so are flip cards, and those are super popular. Like werewolf flip cards, super popular.
Yeah, but werewolves are cool.
Yeah, stop it right there. That they are awful cards. From any other perspective, but casually they're enjoyed. So I think as long as this looks like they're going to make it at least a little bit easier to read. This, I think it's close to Kamigawa territory, which is
the
rough, the original flip cards where you actually flip the card over.
Correct.
Now the one thing that I've seen with this, and this is what I like about it. So in your hand, the part of the card you see, if you're fanning through cards, is the part you can cast.
Is the castable part.
But in your graveyard, you can actively, if you want to, turn this card on its side. Okay. Do you remember the original flashback cards? How they put a little tombstone next to the name of it, so you could fan your graveyard, and the idea was you could look to see what cards have flashback. Well, this card you can actively turn in your graveyard, and you will actively see a real Magic card sticking out that will remind you can cast this. Now I'm saying you should play with your graveyard that way.
No, because then your opponent's going to be like, oh, well, why is that card exiled?
Sure, but you're talking about from a casual standpoint, I think that sort of function makes a lot of sense. You could turn it and see it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think. I am not as upset by this as you are. I don't think it's.
I just think aesthetically it's terrible.
I'm not saying it's aesthetically pleasing, but I think functionally it will not be as confusing as you think it might be.
I'm not saying it's impossibly complex or anything like that. I'm just saying if this is the first Magic card that I saw, I would be like, what? And obviously, I don't know. Again, without context of what this actually is, it's very hard to be like, how prevalent is this? Is this something that they've only sectioned off to being rare or higher or something like that, or very few instances of it in the set, which is likely the case. I can't imagine like this being, I could see this as being relevant as somewhere between flip cards. It may be less relevant, like maybe less prevalent than that. But
yeah, maybe
who knows? Like, I think the hardest thing for this card specifically is the actual keyword, because it's another graveyard centric keyword.
Sure.
So we on this podcast have been very vocal about them not really printing anything that interacts with the graveyard. Now, they have curbed some things and banned some things that have made that less relevant, and I will give that to them. But here's the thing: so if the next set comes out and they do something like, hey, maybe they ban cat. They're like, maybe they go back on their diversity claim, which doesn't seem like it's something they're going to be doing now. They seem to be doubling down on it. But maybe they decide to do that. Well, then you're going to introduce this new graveyard mechanic, and then you still have Delirium, and you still have Black-Green Delirium, which suddenly likely gets better. I mean, again, you do have to factor in like the context of an entire new set, which is very, very hard to do at this point in time. But either way, either you don't do anything about the graveyard and you see where all the cards lay, or you have something that hates the graveyard and you hamstring your own new mechanic.
I think the other thing, and people have already mentioned this though, is this mechanic looks crazy and seems like splashy. It could also just be like not very relevant. If you remember, Meld was something that really messed with the way the cards looked, and there were 3 cards with Meld. So it could be something like if there is no way to interact with the graveyard, there could just not be like a couple of these at rare, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to consider as well. So maybe it won't be that big of an issue. You express a very legitimate fear. We have, as you said, yelled about this a lot, and if they don't have any way to mess with the graveyard, I will say this card doesn't look good enough to play.
In current, like in a vacuum, like probably not. It feels like it doesn't do what you want a Wrath to do.
No, like you're a turn 4 Wrath to do, right? Like
yeah.
Like good thing on turn 4, all of your creatures are giant, right? Guys,
no,
guys. Not to mention the fact that like sorcery speed Wrath effects don't interact with vehicles, so who cares?
Right.
Like, your turn 2 is a Hardy Carry and your turn 4 is a Gideon. Glad I have Dusk to Dawn. You know what I mean? Or Dusk/Dawn, or...
Now, I do... We also do have to say that there are a lot of 3-power creatures that are currently being played in Standard that are fairly early. So there is that.
Yeah, but...
Kinda.
The 2 biggest decks in the format, this will do nothing to.
Also, like, a lot of those creatures are, like, recurrent. So like, Scrappy Scrounger.
Yeah, like,
I don't know, man.
Do you want to cast this card against Martyr Vehicles?
No.
Do you want to cast this card against 4-color Saheeli?
No.
Look at my 2/3 that makes Thopters that are 1/1s. Cast Dusk! And like Dawn,
I dare ya.
Like Dawn seems interesting, but like also super slow. Like 5 mana to get all of your
cards back into your hand.
Like so. I guess I need to see where this sits in the format. So there could be better ones, or there's just a couple of them, like a cycle of rare ones, and that's it.
Yeah, but I think it is important that all these cards, like Aftermath, will cause them all to interact in the same way. Like it's a parentheses keyword. So like that's the only way that can work as far as I understand how keywords work. That it's always going to be cast this from your graveyard and exile it. Yes. So we'll have to wait and see. And like this is why this sucks. Like I want context for this. I want to know like what is actually like going on in Amonkhet. I don't think it's surprising that there is a graveyard theme, or like there's going to be mummies. Mummies will probably be zombies, and it makes sense. Zombies, graveyards, like things like that. It's there, but I don't know. But we'll see.
Yeah, again, it's hard to judge like what Amonkhet could possibly be based on this to one card, but it's certainly the kind of card that like you can't not look at it. You know what I mean? Like it's like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, it's eye catching. It's something different, and they have to use They have to use every bit of that animal when making cards. Like that is something that is very, very true. And if you're expecting Wizards not to do things with frames, with art placement, with things like that, like they can't. They don't have the liberty to not do risky things like this. So I don't think that they even think it's aesthetically that fantastic. When looking at it, but sometimes you just have to try things. So I will curb my negativity towards this and give them. I don't really think R&D deserves it, but give them the benefit of the doubt until we see we have more context for Amonkhet.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, all right. That's the last thing we had to talk about as far as show is concerned, but we did want to talk about some things that are happening over the weekend. We do have GP Orlando. It is hosted by Star City Games.
Orlando.
And it is sealed. So, sealed, limited. If that's something you like to watch, that's fine. I think, watching drafts is probably a little bit better.
Is there video coverage of that?
I have no idea.
Star City's running it, and generally they don't now.
No!
So,
I guess you can't watch it. I guess you're spending time with your family or going outside. I don't think there is video coverage now that I really think about it.
I don't think there is either.
Oh, well, too bad. Guess you can't watch it anyway. Even if you wanted to. You didn't want to.
Well, you could if you went there and watched.
Yeah, if you like,
there's still a feature match area.
If you just birded the entire tournament,
just bring one of those giant. You go to your discount store and you buy a huge bag of popcorn, like a sack of popcorn. You just take it in and just eat that the whole day next to people.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you flew down to Orlando to watch a Magic tournament, that is the last thing you should do in Orlando.
If you actively choose to go into that state with the sole purpose of just watching Magic, you've made a mistake.
Yeah, you got to go to Universal Studios. You got to go hang out in Harry Potter World.
Or don't go to Florida.
I'm
sorry, Florida.
I mean, you go to Disney World. Disney World's fine. They got Star Wars stuff now. But it's definitely all about that Universal.
It's true.
Also, in local tournament news, well, somewhat local, Ohio tournament news, Empire Cards, a former sponsor of the show, is actually having a 4 times Planeswalker Point multiplier Modern Masters 2013 constructed
2013?
Yeah, they're going back in the past to a Modern Masters set that 2013 was the first one, so it did technically exist. It just wasn't called Modern Masters 2013. Modern Masters 2017 Modern Constructed event. And this is pretty big. Empire Cards is up north in Streetsboro,
Streetsboro,
Ohio.
From my neck of the woods.
So it's a pretty awesome tournament to be able to have pretty relatively close. So if you're in the northern Michigan, not northern Michigan, but northern area,
northern Ohio,
southern Michigan, Pennsylvania, around that area, definitely make the trip out and come to this sweet Modern event. I think Mike and I are going to try to go. I'm pretty sure Mike's sold on it.
I think I am. I want a chance at some sweet Modern Masters boxes. I really do.
And I will see if I can be free to travel up north. Stop! Don't even say it. I already know. I understand what's up there and the glorious that it is.
If you don't know, eat at Swenson's when you're up there.
Oh God!
It changed your life. It changed your life.
I haven't had it so long, man. Don't.
He started shaking, everybody. I need you to know. He started shaking.
You all got any of them Swensons? Anyway. But that is pretty much what is happening over the weekend. Kind of a slow weekend, so hopefully there's some sweet Magic news that happens.
Well, we're gearing up for Amonkhet.
That's true. That's true. That's going to start sooner than I think. So, as far as ways that you can reach out to us, if you have any questions or concerns about the show, you can tweet at us. Our handle is YourEndStep, and then when you add us, it's at YourEndStep because we're clever.
Ding.
We also have a Facebook. It's at YourEndStep. If you do a quick search on Facebook for at YourEndStep, we also do have a website at YourEndStep.com and an email address at YourEndStep@gmail.com. So a multitude of ways to get a hold of us. While you're on Facebook, you can look up our sponsors. You can check out Comic Town by doing a quick search for Comic Town Gaming Center. And you can find BCW Supplies by searching for BCW Supplies. Facebook, real easy website. Going to have to say that. As far as where you can download our show, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on the Google Play Music Store or via MTG Cast. And, you can find a large amount of MTG podcasts on that website. We do suggest you to go out and find another lovely Magic podcast to listen to when you're not waiting for our show to show up. But that's pretty much going to be everything for us this week. We do appreciate you listening every week, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.